Welcome to another episode of Dark Thought, where we explore the realms of the strange and supernatural. Tonight, we bring you The Striding Place, a tale that delves into the mysteries of the Yorkshire moors, where the boundary between life and death is perilously thin. Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown. The Yorkshire moors are a place of wild beauty and ancient mystery, a landscape shrouded in legend and folklore. Among these stories, none is more chilling than that of the Strid, a deceptively tranquil stream that winds its way through the heather-clad hills. The Strid is notorious for its narrow yet deadly waters, where the riverbed suddenly drops into an abyss, claiming the lives of many who dared to cross its seemingly harmless surface. Our story centers on a young man named Egbert Wayall, a scholar with a keen interest in the supernatural and the unexplained. Wayall was visiting Yorkshire to escape the bustling life of London and to seek inspiration for his writings. His closest friend, Wyatt Gifford, had vanished in the area several weeks prior, and Wayall was determined to find answers to the mystery surrounding his disappearance. Wayall arrived at the Strid one misty afternoon, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and the distant sound of water rushing through the narrow gorge. He stood on the bank, gazing across the chasm, where the opposite side seemed cloaked in a perpetual haze. The locals had warned him of the Strid's treacherous nature, but Wayall was undeterred. He was drawn to the place, compelled by a force he couldn't quite explain. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie twilight over the moors, Wayall felt a strange presence. He turned to see a figure emerging from the mist on the far side of the Strid. The figure was tall and slender, dressed in dark, old-fashioned clothing. Despite the distance and the growing darkness, Wayall could make out the man's pale, ghostly face. "Wyatt!" Wayall called out, his voice echoing across the water. The figure raised a hand, acknowledging Wayall's call, but instead of responding, it turned and began to walk along the bank, moving deeper into the mist. Wayall felt a surge of desperation. He had to know if it was truly Wyatt. Ignoring the warnings, he searched for a place to cross the Strid, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. He found a narrow point where the banks were closer together, the water below churning in a menacing whirlpool. Taking a deep breath, Wayall leaped across, landing awkwardly on the other side. The ground was slippery, and he nearly lost his footing, but managed to steady himself. The figure had vanished into the mist, and Wayall hurried to catch up. The fog thickened around him, muffling the sounds of the moor. Wayall felt as though he had entered another world, a realm where time stood still. The figure appeared again, a shadowy silhouette ahead. Wayall quickened his pace, his breath visible in the cold air. As he drew closer, the figure stopped and turned to face him. It was Wyatt, or at least, it looked like him. The face was familiar, but there was something off. Wyatt's eyes were vacant, his expression emotionless. Wayall felt a chill run through him, a primal fear that he couldn't shake. "Wayall," Wyatt's voice was hollow, as if coming from a great distance. "Why have you come?" "I came to find you," Wayall replied, his voice trembling. "Where have you been? What happened to you?" Wyatt's gaze seemed to pierce through Wayall. "I've been here, waiting. The Strid, it is not just a stream. It is a doorway, a passage between worlds." Wayall's heart raced. He had read about such phenomena, places where the boundaries between the living and the dead were thin, but he never imagined he would encounter one himself. "What do you mean?" he asked, stepping closer. Wyatt's form flickered, as if struggling to maintain solidity. "The Strid takes those who cross it. It claimed me, and now I am trapped, neither living nor dead. I exist in the space between, a shadow of my former self." Wayall felt a pang of sorrow and fear. "Can you come back? Is there a way to bring you back?" Wyatt's eyes glinted with a strange light. "There is a way, but it requires a sacrifice. The Strid demands a soul for a soul. If you cross back, one of us must stay behind." The implication was clear, and Wayall recoiled. He couldn't leave Wyatt here, but he also couldn't bear the thought of being trapped in this ghostly limbo. He looked around, hoping to find some other way, but the mist was all-encompassing, the landscape a featureless void. As if sensing Wayall's thoughts, Wyatt extended his hand. "Come, Wayall. We can be together again, as we were before. Cross over, and we will find peace." Wayall hesitated, torn between his loyalty to his friend and the instinct for self-preservation. The air around him grew colder, and he felt the weight of the mist pressing in. He took a step back, shaking his head. "No, there must be another way. I won't leave you, but I can't stay either." Wyatt's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing. "There is no other way. The Strid demands it." Before Wayall could respond, the ground beneath him began to tremble. The mist swirled around them, and the sound of rushing water grew louder. Wayall felt himself being pulled toward the edge of the Strid, an invisible force dragging him towards the water. He struggled, trying to resist, but the force was too strong. Just as he was about to be pulled into the churning waters, a voice called out from the other side of the Strid. "Wayall, hold on." It was his friend, Collins, who had come looking for him. Collins had seen Wayall's light across the Strid and realized something was wrong. He had called for help, and several villagers had come with him, bringing ropes and lanterns. With a final effort, Wayall managed to break free from the force pulling him towards the water. He stumbled back, gasping for breath. Wyatt's figure flickered and faded, a look of despair in his ghostly eyes. "Wayall, no. Don't leave me." Wyatt's voice echoed through the mist, but Wayall turned away, tears in his eyes. He knew he couldn't save his friend, but he couldn't sacrifice himself either. Collins and the others pulled Wayall back across the Strid, wrapping him in blankets and guiding him away from the cursed water. Wayall looked back one last time, but Wyatt was gone, the mist closing in around the spot where he had stood. For days, Wayall was haunted by the experience. He couldn't shake the memory of Wyatt's face, the empty look in his eyes, and the terrible knowledge that his friend was trapped in a place between life and death. Wayall tried to tell the villagers what had happened, but they dismissed it as a hallucination, a result of the cold and the mist. But Wayall knew the truth. He had come face to face with the supernatural, with a place where the veil between worlds was thin. He left Yorkshire soon after, unable to bear the weight of what he had seen. He returned to London, but the memory of the Strid and the haunting figure of Wyatt stayed with him, a constant reminder of the mysteries that lurk just beyond our understanding. As for the Strid, it continued to flow, calm and unassuming on the surface, but hiding a deadly secret beneath. The locals knew better than to go near it, especially at night. They spoke of it in hushed tones, passing down stories of those who had disappeared, warning others to stay away. And so, the Striding Place remains, a place of beauty and danger, where the curious and the unwary might find themselves crossing into a realm from which there is no return. For those who hear the call of the Strid, beware. Some places are best left unexplored, and some mysteries are better left unsolved. And thus concludes the story of The Striding Place, a tale that reminds us that the world is full of mysteries, some of which are better left untouched. As you go about your lives, remember to heed the warnings of old legends, for the unknown holds dangers we cannot always comprehend. Thank you for joining us tonight on Dark Thought. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, stay curious, but stay safe.